We invite you to experience the magic that is Malta, rising from the sea like a shimmering mirage. Surrounded by the sunny Mediterranean, this island archipelago is not only jaw-dropping spectacular, but also offers so many varied vacations in one. It's a place that has it all, including the highest density of World Heritage sites of anywhere on Earth. Malta will evoke your inner sporty self, enticing you to play in its watery wonderland, swimming, sailing, diving, boating, and jet skiing through its aqua waters, marveling at its gorgeous geology of picture-perfect formations. From the mesmerizing Blue Grotto to the impressive Dingley Cliffs, nature nomads can wander the land and explore the sea in ecstasy. Cosmopolitan Malta will conjure the culture connoisseur in you, revealing its deep-rooted heritage from Phoenician and Roman times to Arab, Italian, and British influences. History hounds will revel in the ruins and museums, from Gozzo's Neolithic temple to Vellato's Maltese Knights, Baroque beauty, and Caravaggio masterpieces. Maltese cuisine is culinary bliss, following the seasons with flavors as rich, fresh, and varied as the country's mix of cultures. Nightlife and party lovers, too, will find a lot to love in Malta, and so will you. Our custom trips are drawn from a menu of enticing experiences with something interesting for everyone. This is Michael Gelber, CEO IWorld of Travel, inviting you to experience another memories beyond destination. IWorld of Travel. Expect more. Do more.
Well, welcome everybody to the Leadership Webinar Series that is brought to you by IWorld of Travel. My name is Michael Gelber. I am the CEO of IWorld of Travel, and very much appreciate everybody who's willing to participate today to learn about this amazing, beautiful destination. And we have quite the crew of speakers today that I think you'll find it very interesting and very helpful in being able to sell this destination. I also now want to, so pleased and so proud to have Julia Faragioto Portelli, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, who is the Ministry of Tourism for Malta, who has a little message that she wanted to share with you prior to going into the destination.
Warm greetings from Malta's capital city, Valletta, a city built by the Knights of St. John following the Great Siege of 1565, to all of you in the USA participating in this webinar. Thank you, Alida at IWorld of Travel, for the invitation to address this Malta webinar with your travel agency partners. And thanks also to Malta specialist and partner Kurt Kakia, the MC partners of IWorld Travel in Malta, for coming up with this initiative. With the COVID-19 pandemic, the tourism industry has faced and continues to struggle with the biggest challenge in its history. The pandemic has managed to combine all the factors that affect tourism negatively, namely a sudden economic slowdown, fear of travel, fear of mixing with other people, loss of jobs, and a weakening of people's purchasing power. None of us saw this coming, certainly not to the extent that our lives practically came at a standstill. It is our duty to persevere and overcome this challenge and rebuild confidence in the tourism industry once again. We are in this together, and together we shall succeed. In the last 10 years, Malta's inbound tourism industry grew steadily year after year to reach 2.75 million tourists arriving in our shores in 2019. This was achieved with a strategy of geographic source market diversification, segment and niche product development, with matching bespoke marketing plans, much improved flight connectivity to our islands, and also a rapid expansion of the Malta Tourism Authority's activity in overseas markets. In 2013, the Ministry for Tourism and MTA relaunched MTA's presence and activity in North America with the appointment of Michelle Buttigieg as Malta's representative. I'm happy to say that this has been a success story, and in 2019, USA arrivals topped the 50,000 mark for the very first time, putting the USA in the top 10 tourism source markets to Malta. Over the years, we have managed to greatly improve awareness and knowledge of Malta and Gozo in the American market, while building a great network of partners that are promoting and selling Malta all year round. In April 2020, Malta was due to host United States Tour Operators Association out-of-country board meeting, but this is now, as you know, postponed to April-May 2021 for obvious reasons. Malta has managed COVID-19 extremely well. In fact, the Commonwealth General Secretary has recognized Malta's response to COVID-19 for being the best in the whole of Europe. And also, the WHO Regional Director for Europe has praised Malta as an example to follow. The Maltese Islands reopened to tourism from the first group of 22 countries on July 1st, and then to a second batch of another 28 countries on July 15th. International tourism in our islands is growing slowly but steadily. All restaurants, accommodation, and also tourist attractions display certified compliant badges attesting to their safety and hygiene protocols. Malta International Airport has installed the latest technology to screen passengers arriving in Malta, while face masks or visors are obligatory for service staff and in enclosed places like shops and public transport. In addition to an ongoing educational campaign on all media in Malta, health and tourism personnel regularly inspect outlets to ensure the principles for a safe trip to Malta are observed. I found it very fitting to read IWorld of Travel's promise, Memories Beyond Moments, a kaleidoscope of wondrous experiences beyond dreams to last a lifetime. Memories that live on in our soul and continue to enrich us years after we say our goodbyes, because this is a most appropriate description of the type of holiday experience that the Maltese Islands are known to offer to our visitors. I trust that you will enjoy this Malta webinar, and I look forward to welcome you and your clients in our islands in the not too distant future. Keep safe and strong. We shall overcome this together.
Terrific. With that, let me introduce Michelle, who will talk a little bit about Malta. Michelle?
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you, Michael, Alida, and Kurt for inviting us to be on this webinar. Good afternoon to everyone listening, and welcome to magnificent Malta. My name is Michelle Buttigieg, and I am the representative for the Malta Tourism Authority here in North America. As our minister said, we've reopened our offices 2013, 2014, with a presence here in North America, US and Canada. Malta has been gaining a lot of popularity with the US market especially, so we're here to help you. Today, my aim is to give you a little highlight of the islands. I start with a map of the actual islands of Malta. A lot of people ask where we are located. We are 58 miles south from the shores of Sicily. We're in the middle of the Mediterranean. And as you see, the islands consist of 3 main islands. Next slide, please. The main island of Malta is the cultural and administrative center. It's where the airport is, the cruise port is, and many of the hotels and attractions. You have the island of Comino in the middle of the archipelago, which is more of an island surrounded by blue lagoons, great for those boat trips and swimming and snorkeling. Then you have the island of Calypso, of Gozo, which in Greek mythology is the island of Calypso. More rural atmosphere, calmer atmosphere, still a lot of history and culture and beautiful accommodations too. The populations of Malta is about 500,000, and the size is 316 kilometers square. Doesn't mean that because of our size, there is a lot to do on such a small area. Next slide, please. Why Malta? Again, as our minister said, we are a very proud nation with 7,000 years of history. So we have temples that date back to 3,600 BC. These are civilizations that that scholars are still finding out new stuff as we go on. Still very up, the temples are still there and very visible, and it's a great mystical experience when you're there. We are also officially the islands of St. Paul, as St. Paul was shipwrecked on his way to Rome. That brought us the new religion. Therefore, we have beautiful churches to visit. And even though your client might not be the church goer or the traveling for churches, this is one masterpiece, much beautiful than the other one. The island has superb accommodations from 5-star hotels, which I will talk a little bit about later on. We are also blessed with 300 days of sunshine. So average temperature is 77 degrees with very much warmer summers and also a warmer winter with average 50 to 60 degrees. So definitely not a New York kind of winter. I think, again, with 7,000 years of history, I think one of our most prominent times are when the Knights of Malta were in Malta. They left some of the most beautiful infrastructure on the island, building medieval cities that are still easy to walk through and live history. I mean, one thing that fascinates me is that the history, you can still see the footprints that are there, and you can still feel and live throughout these historic cities. Again, we are small, therefore the advantage is that an itinerary, as IWorld will present later on, is a very rich itinerary, a lot of behind the scenes experiences, and it's an open air museum. We are English speaking. We have 2 official languages. One is Maltese, and a lot of people ask, what is Maltese? Well, Maltese is one of the only semi-Semitic languages left in the world and is derived from Arabic, Aramaic, with a good mixture of Latin. It's written in Roman letters. So it's a very interesting melodic language. But we also speak English. Which is also one of our official language. So for North Americans, it's a plus. All signs are in English, so there wouldn't be any problems with language. And there is no visa required until now for North Americans. So that's another obstacle that makes it easy to book into Malta. Next, please. This is obviously pre-COVID. The situation is still very fluid. The Malta International Airport just reopened, and flights are coming in slowly but surely. But just to give you an idea, pre-COVID, how it's easy and how easy it is to connect through any major hub in Europe. We do not have any direct flight as yet from North America, but it's easy access from any major hub. Next, please. This next slide just gives you an idea of the proximity of Malta to the major hubs. So, the longest would be from London airports. Amsterdam, it's about 3 hours, very close to Rome. Apart from flying, you can also come in through Sicily. But then again, IWorld will take care of that for you. Next, please. So Malta has 3 UNESCO sites. And I like to start with the UNESCO site of the subterranean megalithic temple of the Hypogeum. Very mysterious, very mythical. You walk in there and it's like incredible. The megalithic temple is subterranean, as I mentioned, and it's one of the few megalithic temples that is still found in the world. Next, please. Next slide. So the other UNESCO site is the capital city of Valletta. We are very proud that our capital city is actually a UNESCO site. I don't think they could just find an area of Valletta and make that a UNESCO site. So the whole city, built by the Knights of St. John, you are now looking at the co-cathedral of St. John, which houses the only signed Caravaggio painting, the beheading of St. John the Baptist. Just pretty spectacular. I mean, I was born in Malta, but I've lived abroad for a long time, and going into this cathedral is just really overwhelming each time I step in. Its gold gilding represents the culture and the richness that the Knights of Malta brought to the islands. The next slide is also of Valletta. Again, it's a fortified city, very strategic for the Great Siege of Malta in the 1500s when the knights fought the Ottoman and protected the islands and Christianity. And the city, again, is still very visible with all this history that one can hear and read about. Next slide. Also a picture of Valletta. Valletta was one of the first cities built on a grid plan. It is said that after Valletta was built, a lot of other cities in the world, including New York City, was built in this mannerism. And the grid system helped with ventilation and also to access the ports, which are a very important part of the economic culture of Valletta. Next, please. Accommodation. Well, in Malta, you can find any type of accommodation, starting from the bigger hotel chains, mostly found on the main island of Malta. You have chains like Intercontinental, Hilton, the Corinthia hotels, which is actually a Maltese hotel, Kempinski, and other major hotel chains. We also have hotel representation like leading hotels of the world, which is the beautiful Hotel of Phoenicia, located in Valletta. You have Relais Chateau, the Shara Palace, or you also have preferred hotels. So we have a good representation for the 5 big star hotels. But Malta also boasts the smaller boutique hotels. So Valletta was the capital city for culture in 2018, and it was, it was a lot more beds were needed in the city of Valletta. So the new concept of boutique hotels was introduced. So you have these beautiful boutique hotels that used to be palazzos that belong to the knights. So buildings with real history. So your client staying in one of these smaller hotels is actually also living in history. We also have 4-star, other star hotels and private accommodation like villas and farmhouses, usually very popular on the island of Gozo. Next step. So I want to talk a little bit about niche markets. Before I do that, I also want to stress the point that going around the island is pretty easy. It is small. Public transportation is good, but of course there's private buses and cars, and of course IWorld itinerary will provide that. But just wanted to point out that it's easy to get from one side to the other. So now to the niche markets. I would like to start with wellness, being that it's a mystical, there's a big mystical presence on the island, being is the islands of the goddesses and the temple, the era of the islands. Wellness is a very popular niche market. So a lot of people come to Malta to experience the summer and winter solstices, yogis, spas, therapeutic visits to the islands of Malta, and a lot of hotels have incredible spas that one can experience while you're there. Next, please. The food. Now I'm getting hungry, and I am also homesick, being that I am here in New York City. But being that we have such rich history, we also have rich culture. So with a rich culture comes an array of influences from all the civilization that passed through us. Being it's obviously majorly European influence. We are in Europe and Mediterranean. We're surrounded by the water, so seafood is very popular. You have the sauces, the red sauces, a little bit of North African flavor. The cuisine is a must. And for your clients or yourselves that are visiting, one must always have our famous pasticci, which is a filo pastry filled with cheese or peas. And you can buy them from any coffee shop. It's like eating a donut and a coffee in New York, or a bagel. In Malta, you have to have a tea or a coffee and a pastis from anywhere in village squares or anywhere else. Next, please. Saying this, there are different ways how to enjoy this scrumptious cuisine. What you are looking at is a piazza, typical piazza in Malta. This is in Valletta, called Piazza Regina. And you see an outdoor kind of atmosphere where one can enjoy the beautiful weather, which is all year round. Next, please. To a more sophisticated restaurant ambiance, we do have three restaurants with Michelin star restaurants, and a lot of upscale cuisine that one can, it's a fusion of Maltese and European cuisine together. To the next, the traditional Maltese cuisine, which is very healthy and hearty, and you will find restaurants that have Maltese traditional dancing and entertainment. As definitely a way to go to experience the local experience as well. Adventure. If your client is adventurous, again, we are blessed with good weather, so it's an all year round experiences. And in the next couple of slides, you will see the different types of outdoor experiences that you can have. Malta is very popular for its water clarity, so it's usually voted in top countries in Europe for diving. And there's down there, I like to say this, there is as much to see as there is to see on land. So whether you like diving or you're like me, prefer snorkeling, lots of colors and shipwrecks dating back to the Phoenicians' times all the way to World War II. Sailing, obviously, we're blessed by the water and also good weather. So any water sports together with hiking, cycling, and other type of outdoor adventures. As I mentioned before, we are the islands of St. Paul. We are heavy on religious pilgrimages because we are the country that St. Paul was shipwrecked on his way to Rome. What you are looking at is the catacombs of St. Paul, where the early Christians used to worship. We used to be under the Roman rule, therefore the Maltese were pagans, and you can still visit these early sites for the early Catholics. But saying this, we also have a Jewish infused itinerary as well. Next slide, please. Actually, this is a slide of a typical church decorated for the Holy Week, a very popular time to visit Malta, as there are processions in the streets, all the churches are decorated, and there's a really cultural feeling when one is visiting during these times. Next slide, please. And as I said, we have a Jewish infused itinerary as well. We've launched this about a couple of years ago, where a lot of study went into the Jews that were in Malta throughout different periods. And you can visit catacombs and cemeteries and the Jewish community itself. This is a typical festa. A festa is, so I would say from the early May until October, every village has a patron saint, and a festa is dedicated to the patron saint of the village. Let's face it, we like to be outside, we like to party, so any occasion to be outside, and if your client is there, it's definitely a good way to, again, live like a local. Saying all this, we have a very rich calendar. Anytime there is something going on. The feasts, as I mentioned before, early May till October, but there's a lot of other cultural events going on, like the Burgofest, as you see, where the streets are lit by candle lights and there's music and food, to parades and also a vintage car Grand Prix. Two music festivals like the Isle of MTV, Jazz Festival, Baroque Festival in early January. So please do check on our calendars. The Visit Malta website, which I will talk a little bit at the end, has an array of event calendar that you can put your date in, and then all the events that are happening come up for you to help plan for your client. Next slide. Great destination for weddings and honeymoons, obviously with its historical, all these historical background. It's an amazing backdrop for beautiful pictures. There's a lot of venues and wedding planners that will help with your client and also during honeymoon. This is a few pictures of the island of Gozo, as I said, a more relaxed rural island, still very rich in history. You could see on the right-hand side the salt pans of Gozo, which date back from the Roman rule, where salt was used as a trade, as money. And they used to pay with salt, as it was very important back then to preserve food. And you could still meet the local people that take care of the salt pans. It's definitely something cultural to do. If you do have corporate opportunities, again, an amazing backdrop. This, what you are looking at, is the Mediterranean Conference Center based in Valletta, which used to be a hospital built by the Knights. Back then, the Knights were very lucky to be able to build a hospital in the city, within city limits. And it is just magnificent, the hallways. And as you see, it's a great setup for any corporate opportunities. And then lastly, Malta's also very popular on cruise itinerary. We have over 14 North American cruise ships that stop in Malta. The Grand Harbor is not called Grand for no reason. It is a beautiful harbor, and actually the ships dock in the city of Valletta. So the seabed is deep enough for the ships to come straight in. Usually you have like an itinerary, short itinerary that you could see Valletta and some other parts of Malta. And we have a little video for you before I talk about my information. From there. So you can find my information here. There is also a travel agent academy course that you can take. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to highlight the special aspects of Malta. Again, thank you so much, Mike and Alida and Kurt, for having me today. We are very excited to start our partnership with IWorld. We're here to help you. So thank you again, and have a nice afternoon.
Michelle, thank you. That was excellent. Really great information. I can't wait to get out to Malta myself. Next up is going to be Kurt. He comes from listen, Kurt is a great individual with a great sense of humor too, and a wealth of knowledge for the Malta region. His family's business has been out there for 36 years, very similar to our company being a family legacy company that continues on, that really has their eyes and ears on the grounds in this beautiful, enticing destination. Kurt, welcome and thank you for participating. I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Michael. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Michael, and Alida and all of IWorld Travel. Thank you, Honorable Minister, and Michelle Buttigieg from the Malta Tourism Authority office in New York. Thank you, participants, for taking time out to attend this webinar. I am Kurt Kakea, CEO of the local company in Malta that partners with IWorld of Travel. We are IWorld of Travel Malta branch. We are a family-run business and have been in business since 1984. We have hosted over 1 million guests in Malta throughout the years. In the process, becoming hotel owners, operators, excursion operators, owners of open-top buses, shore excursion cruise ships, venue owners, and operators. We have our own catering company, In other words, we are deeply involved in the hospitality business. I have known Alida of IWorld of Travel for many years now, and we have coordinated together aircraft charter operations over 15 years. She would fill the aircraft selling Malta, whilst we would fill the other leg of the aircraft selling Croatia. In the process, Alida has fallen in love with Malta, and I have fallen in love with Croatia. Alida moves to Miami, and fate has it that she meets up with Michael of IWorld of Travel. It's not long before the three of us are coordinating and putting together a new destination on the constantly growing itineraries of IWorld of Travel, mainly the island of Malta. Before I mention anything about Malta, I'd like to say a few words about us. When I say us, I mean everyone participating in this webinar today. All of us in the hospitality business, the travel trade. We are currently going through a very difficult and challenging period in our lives. We are carrying a lot of pain, some of us suffering alone whilst putting on a brave face in front of others. Our lives are seriously threatened, but worst of all, the lives of our families and our young ones. We are the ambassadors of the travel industry. The world economy depends on us. Our absence from the world economy would not only affect us, but the whole world, including taxis and bus drivers, waiters, cleaners, restaurateurs, and even the baker and the farmer, not to mention all their families and children whose livelihood depends on us. Even comedians would be affected because many would not be in the mood of laughing. But here is the good news. We are resilient. We are a people who will rise up when we are challenged. It didn't take the American people long to rise up, to recover, and turn the situation around from the damage caused by Pearl Harbor in the 40s. Nor did it take the American people long to rise up, unite, and overcome the attacks of 9/11, even though the travel industry was used as a weapon itself. It is the same with us here in Malta. In 1565, the Ottoman Empire sent its full armada with over 40,000 troops, together with both its generals, to conquer Malta, which was being defended at that time by 600 knights. A battle that was meant to last a week, in that mid-May of 1565, did begin as a disaster for Malta, losing control of one of its three cities. However, Malta fought back, and the battle lasting 4 months and ending in victory for Malta, with a total defeat of the Ottoman Armada. This was the beginning of the end of the advancement of the Ottoman Empire that pushed its way from Jerusalem all the way to Turkey and parts of Europe. It was the same during the Second World War, with the growing Nazi Empire just 60 miles from our shores in Italy. Malta is known for being the most bombed place during the Second World War. It is also known to be said that initially, Malta held the Nazis with 3 old war British biplanes, known as Fate, Hope, and Charity. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Check on Google. Malta was never conquered by the Nazis and was later used as a base to move into Italy. Malta was awarded the George Cross, the only country to be awarded this cross, which today proudly forms part of our national flag. So the message is here. This is the message that I'd like to bring forth. Let's fight back together. Let's rebuild the travel industry. Let us fight for those children who are relying on us. I guess this leaves me with the last subject I would like to mention. Malta. Why travel to Malta? I would briefly give 3 main points. Some of them you might have heard from my colleague here, Michel Buttigieg. The first one being our cultural and history. Malta has a wealth of history and culture. Our history goes back 7,000 years, in which we have the oldest man-made structure buildings in the world. Now, despite that, according to our planning authority in Malta, there are no known building permits for these structures, we have left them intact. They have withstood all the empires that conquered Malta and used the small island as their base and playground, ultimately leaving this island with one of the richest and diverse cultures in the world. The second point is our hospitality. It is who we are. We are nicknamed the nurse of the Mediterranean. Don't take my word for it. Again, do your research online. We have looked after all those who have visited our islands. We can be trusted with organizing FIT travel and groups. We have been doing this for thousands of years. And again, don't take my word for it. Do your research. Check the reviews. I'm not talking just about the review on TripAdvisor. In fact, I would like to bring to your attention the review written by St. Paul some 2,000 years ago. You will find this review in any Christian Bible, in the New Testament, Acts 28, verse 1 to 4 and 7. 2,000 years ago, St. Paul was on his way to Rome on a ship. The group must have been over 200 passengers, as there were at least 100 Roman soldiers on board, plus slaves. The journey hit a major storm and ultimately got shipwrecked in Malta. The review by St. Paul reads as follows. Once safely on shore, we found that the island was called Malta. The islanders showed us unusual kindness. They built a fire and welcomed us. In verse 7, Paul goes on to write, there was an estate nearby that belonged to the chief of the island. He welcomed us to his home and showed us general hospitality for 3 days. Now, it's true that during those days, we only organized 3-day excursions around the island. But since the addition of 2,000 more years of history, it has become more popular for guests to stay 5 to 7 days in Malta. The third and last item is our infrastructure. Yes, we have the luxury international 5-star branded hotels. Yes, we have the luxury cars, the luxury coaches, luxury yachts, the blue flag beaches, the Michelin star rated restaurants. Oh, and just in case any American is missing home, we do have the McDonald's, the KFCs, the Burger Kings, and many other American branded food outlets. To conclude, I would like to say, let's make use of this downtime in our industry. Let's do our research on potential destinations. Trust us at IWorld of Travel to help you with this. We have over 30 destinations and growing full of diverse itineraries, be it family, luxury, wellness, or faith-based. Let's build the world of travel. And most of all, let's do it together with IWorld of Travel. Thank you. Back to you, Michael.
Kurt, thank you very much. That was very, very passionate, very informative. And I appreciate you taking us along the history lines there. Is excellent, excellent. I want to bring up, next is going to be Alida Poljavec, who Kurt spoke about, her history working with our partner out there, and that Alida and I have become very close over the past several months. And listen, Alida is one of the best, and we were fortunate to be able to bring her on board to work with our VP of Global Sales, Zahava Baton, who most of you and many of you will know, who's been in the industry for 30 years as well. So Alida, I will turn it over to you right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you everyone who is joining us for this webinar today. Malta has always been a very, very dear destination to me, as Kurt has mentioned before, about 15 years ago when I first went there with the group as a tour manager. I kind of fall in love with that country, but that country loved me back. So we had this amazingly successful relationship. I led many groups, and it was always a new experience to go. And as many times as I've been to Malta, there is still some locations that I didn't see, because it is amazing how much there is to see in Malta. So as I joined IWorld earlier this year, I started talking to Michael about this destination, and here we are today to wrap up this presentation, this webinar. I will talk about a little bit about some fixed departure date that we put together for Malta. It is part of our new product line for 2021. We call it Luxury Small Group Departures. Just to give you also some general information, we have this program literally all over the world in various destinations. Some main information is that the maximum number of passengers is 14. So it is very intimate. We are trying always to use smaller boutique style hotels. We are trying to balance the main attractions with some off the beaten path visits, and that gets, that kind of brings the magic for the guests to have that memories beyond, something that is really authentic and unique for each and every destination. And of course, we are doing the same thing for Malta. I'm doing that personally with a lot of love and heart, and 2 programs are practically ready for 2021. The first one, we call it the Sunny Mosaic of Heritage, and if we can go for the next slide, thank you, which is a program of 7 nights. Arrivals are on Sundays, and they spend the first 3 nights in a beautiful property, which is, a site itself, a historical site itself, right out of the Valletta city walls and the main gates. And then, from there, I think that this is very special that we have one overnight in Gozo, the island that you heard about from Michelle, which is my favorite. It's very relaxed, much greener, much more rural, as Michelle mentioned, where they will go and explore some, the Neolithic temples and beautiful sites and nature, and also the mentioned salt mines that are 350 years old. And once we go back to Malta, the last 3 nights are in St. Julian's, which is the modern part of Malta, but also the most interesting, I would say, to spend time, because there we have a waterfront property. It is within walking distance to go out and have, free time. We always have a lot of free time in our programs, which I also think it's very important, because besides having the scheduled visits that are, we make the programs rich, but we try to have also free time for your clients to go and, do what they want to do. We feel it's important that if you are out there at the destination, that you also have time to go and have your own experiences. And you can see here we have luxury accommodations. We have a professional tour manager, which is also at the same time a licensed local guide from Malta, who will be with them the whole tour. The whole tour really focuses on heritage here. We are doing it in the spring and in the fall. So the departures for this tour are in March, April, and then late September and November. And there is a lot of nice experiences connected to food and nature. There is some authentic things like a horse carriage ride around Valletta. There is some wine tastings included. There is the overnight in Gozo, which I've mentioned, the farewell dinner, which is really special, which we go to with a transfer that is done with a retro classic limousine. And it is really, really a special program. And to get more information about it, please reach out to me. I would be really happy to give you more information on this one. The second one is similar, but if we go to the next slide, please. This one is 2 departures in the summertime. So it is July and August. And we say this is a family experience. Of course, we choose to have this in the summertime when the kids are off of school. And this is really something that I crafted it, as if I was going with my family. I have 8-year-old kids, and, we love to travel as a family. But there are some things when we talk about family travel that, we prefer to have it in a certain way. Malta is really ideal of a destination for a family experience, because there is so much to see and so much to do, but at the same time, it's a small country and you don't have to move. So the main difference from this tour and the one that I presented previously is that we have the accommodation in one hotel in Slima, St. Julian's area, and they stay there throughout the 7 nights. And each and every day they will have an exploration. And also one difference to the previously presented program is that because this is in the summer, we have a full day of cruising, which we think it's a great, interesting day for the kids that takes them all the way to Comino and to swim in the Blue Lagoon. A really, really nice day on boat with lunch service served on the boat. And then we have the Marsaschlock with the Blue Grotto, where they can go inside of the Blue Grotto. For the visit to the island of Gozo, we have a Jeep safari, which is also a different experience than to go in a more classic way with the mini coach. And then we have a day that we take them to the Popeye Village. You've seen the Popeye Village in a couple of the pictures that we had today on the presentation. It's basically where the film was made with Robin Williams. And today we use that. It's used as a park for families to have a fun day, and they have an aqua park over there. And on top of that, we leave one full day free. It's the last day on Saturday, so each family can decide what they want to do. There is plenty of things to do, like many beautiful beaches up in the north of the island. You will have the Melilla Bay and the Golden Sands, which is a great day trip. There is a lovely aquarium that features the shows with the dolphins that a lot of kids will love to see, and so on and so forth. But also let me go back to day first when they visit La Valletta, the capital city, the lovely capital city, where, you know, in my experience, as I led many groups and I had many kids, if the guide puts the story in an interesting way, it's a great way for the kids to learn and be engaged and learn a little bit about the history and the heritage and the knights and the battles and the palaces. It's very, very interesting to them. So I just wanted to point out as well that for this family program, our guides will be chosen according to their specialties to handle groups with family, and they will make all of their stories, you know, to be more interesting to the young audience that they will be telling it about. So that it's a very, very short overview of the 2 different programs that we are offering for Malta. But also last and definitely just as important, as you know, that our main business in IWorld of Travel and our greatest specialty is to customize private tours according to your clients' wishes, according to what they want to experience, and focus on the things that they love. It is really amazing in Malta of all the options that there are for accommodations. There are plenty of seafront hotels in different towns like Slima and St. Julian's that I mentioned. There is another area that is in St. Paul's Bay that is called Bujiba and Aura, that it also has a lot of seafront hotels. There is one that comes in my mind. It's called the Dolmen Resort. It actually has a Neolithic temple right there inside the hotel. So that's something special. Then in the inlands of Malta, there is plenty of farmhouses or villas that are really ideal also for a family or for a few families together. They have normally a pool and everything is really luxury, but they are away from the crowds, and we can organize transfers for them to go on explorations and tours that they want to do from there, and as well some beach days, just about anything that they want. Of course, there is different seasons. I would always recommend, if you want to go to Malta and experience both the nature and the waters and the swimming in the sea, that should be, let's say, somewhere between May and the end of September. If you want to focus more on the sightseeing and see as many heritage sites and all the other beautiful places to see in Malta. Maybe it's a little better to go when it's not that hot. My favorite time of the year in Malta is around spring, with everything is blooming and it's green and it's warm, but it's not hot. So I really am here for you. Malta is like my second home. Even most of you already heard that I am from Croatia, and I organize travel throughout Europe with no problems whatsoever. Europe is really my playground. But if I would choose a second home in Europe, it would definitely be Malta. I love it. So please let me help you, and we will create something that your clients will feel that you are their rock star, because we will make amazing, amazing packages for them to see Malta. And I think that's about all. I do see that we have some questions. Shane, will you take over the questions? Thank you guys for listening to me.
Hello, hello.
Alida, that was excellent. Thank you so much. Shane, yeah, why don't we go ahead and go through the Q&As and any of the questions we have there, and I'll unmute Michelle and as well as Kurt, and any one of us can answer whatever the questions happen to be.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll start with starting off with Lorraine Kennedy saying, so excited for the webinar as I am Maltese. Do you offer any FAM opportunities for trips to Malta?
You know, I'll take that. We are working on it. Listen, we're very engaged with FAM trips, and we call them educational trips. And we're just trying to get through 2020 as we look to putting some programs in place for 2021. I can tell you in 2019, we had 9 educational tours that we did across the world. So yes, it is something that we'll be looking to do as we get towards the end of this year, and we'll announce it through our newsletters.
Perfect. So the next question, I'm going to tie 2 together. If it's not by air, how do you get to Malta from Sicily? And then also, how are there boats from other European countries?
I think I can get that one. There are various ways. From Sicily, there is a high-speed catamaran, one of the world's largest and fastest. It takes even lorries and everything on board, and the trip is about an hour and a half. There are also no small ships. Then there are large ships that can go via Italy, or else you got via France, Spain. There are a few ideas, but usually it's best to fly in, because we're just 1 hour away from any coastal area in Europe, be it France, Spain, Italy, and we're just 25 minutes flight from Sicily to Malta.
Fantastic. If someone is looking for a hotel, or if someone is looking for a trip to Malta, where would you recommend for a 3-week visit, or what would you recommend as far as what you could see in 3 weeks? Well,
firstly, I would recommend that they speak to IWorld on this, because they will be building up quite an itinerary and database of hotels. But that would depend. If you are, I would really recommend something in St. Julian's. But if you are artistic and you're more of a cultural person, then Valletta would be a nice alternative.
Perfect. I am Maltese as well, but I've never been. I want to plan a group tour encompassing a portion for genealogy research. Is there something that I could do related to genealogy? Is there any sort of like lineage or genealogy based tours?
There isn't a specific organization for such, but my best recommendation from you again is contact IWorld for this, and I'm sure they'll come up to something. We could come up together and come up with something, tailor-make it for yourselves.
Yes, I was going to say regarding putting the group together that it's not a problem at all. We can work on a program together. And then for the research to find out ancestors and that kind of things, we will ask for the help of Kurt and our local experts and their connections. And there are ways to find out. Churches normally will have records, so It is not the easiest thing to do, but we can do it. It's an adventure. I'm looking forward to it. Please get in touch with us.
Fantastic. And then we'll have Alida's email is in the chat. If it's apaljevic@iworldoftravel.com. Okay, so the next question, where are most cafes and restaurants located in Malta?
Well, can I take that one, Kurt?
Yes,
So,
I'll tell them where the ones in Croatia are. You can tell them the ones in Malta.
exactly. So what I loved about Malta is the variety of the offer in terms of restaurants, bars, clubs, and the whole nightlife scene. You have this main area, which is like a district of the town of St. Julian's. It's called Pacheville. The first time I went there, it was for a New Year's Eve. I think it was 2004, waiting for 2005. And I was in shock because I've never seen something like that. It's one street that really offers a variety of different bars that have different styles, play different music, have different entertainment programs. And literally anyone, you know, even the toughest like me, because I'm very tough in terms of which music I like and how the atmosphere has to be for me. And I actually loved this place, and I managed to find like 2 or 3 places where I really loved being. Not to mention that not so long ago, about maybe 5 years ago, I led my last group to Malta, and it was a fam trip. I had like 10 agents, and I will tell you that we spent every night in Pacheville, and we had a crazy good time. There you go.
Fantastic. So that was the last question I had for Q&A. If anyone wants to drop a question in the Q&A section, go ahead. I just wanted to read this one testimonial because I thought it was fun. From Doria Gomez. I was on a cruise ship a few years ago and they stopped in Malta. I really did not know anything about Malta and was pleasantly surprised. The city of Vallarta is beautiful, full of history. People were so friendly and I had the best grilled octopus I had ever had, better than anywhere in Greece. I would love to go back and stay a few days. I always recommend Malta to my clients, especially if they are visiting Sicily.
That's amazing.
What is the drinking age in Malta?
Well, it's officially 18. But I guess it's as soon as you can carry a bottle of beer.
Very funny, Kurt. or when your parents let you drink, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
No comment.
No comment. No, but it is officially 18. We are a bit relaxed, but the regulations in America are much more strict on alcohol than. But we don't have any serious incidents. But it is 18. It is actually 16. 16.
Fantastic. Well, those are all the questions I had from the Q&A.
All right, terrific. Well, listen, what a great webinar, and we appreciate everybody's participation. Alida, Michelle, Kurt, thank you. And of course, the message from the Minister of Tourism for Malta, terrific. Reach out to us. You can reach Alida at apaljevic@iworldoftravel, and or myself. You have my email there if you need any other support or help. Again, thank you for participating. We appreciate the support, and anything we can do for you, we ask you to reach out to us and we'll be there for you. Take care and stay safe.